I mean, between, Amy Dunn and now Cheryl Strayed, you are responsible for two of the most kind of, I don't know, interesting, complex, strong female characters this year, I think. Have you experienced, I don't know, resistance from studios when you're trying to play those kinds of characters?
I wouldn't say resistance. I had an experience where I spoke to a lot of studio heads a few years ago and felt that they weren't developing a lot of strong female leads, but it's not their responsibility. I think they have different corporate structure mandates that I don't particularly understand. But being an artist in, the filmmaking community for over 20 years, I felt a personal responsibility to start to take action and produce more films that have complex female roles in them.
What were the aspects of this role that gave you trepidation? Because I guess there must have been
everything. I mean, everything. About a week before we started the movie, I was like, I don't want to do any of it, and you cannot make me. I was like a cat on a raft. The only way I got through it was basically calling Cheryl and just, she was so encouraging, and she's like, you're going to do this. There's nobody but you to do this, and the only direction is forward, and that's where we're going to go.
And was there any particular scene that you stands out in your memory as just being like, oh dear God, either physically or emotionally?
The sex scenes were hard. I'd never done something so gritty or real before, but I had to make a choice. Cheryl wrote with such emotional honesty and gritty reality, and she chose to write a book that didn't just showcase the best parts of herself. And as an artist, I had to be brave enough to tell all parts of her story. I would write her emails in the middle of the night like, thanks a lot. I have to be naked tomorrow. And she responded,
I'm sorry I was such a slut in the 90s. But a lot of people were. A lot of people
it's
were.
True.
And a lot of those people were men too. We don't even have a word for a male slut. We have to call them a male slut, right? And I do think that's why it's so important that that I wrote about the experience in the book, and that Reese was brave enough to let that be a part of the movie and let it stand without apology, that this was part of my life. And this was part of a lot of people's lives, but women have been asked always to keep it secret or apologize for it.
She's someone who made mistakes, maybe, although she doesn't necessarily own up to them, and she did things that she might have come to regret, but I think she's just human, and the question should be asked of all the other people who make movies about women in which they're purely functional, there to redeem a guy or maybe sometimes to shoot criminals, but they're not complicated people, and just because we've made a movie which happens to have a real person in it, I don't think we should be on the back foot about flawed females and anti-heroes.
What is it like to be watching moments from your own life? Obviously some of them very painful or transformative play out in fiction.
It's moving and it's funny. And it's informative, too. There were things that I understood about that time of my life that I hadn't understood until I saw Reese acting them out.